Episode of BFM. And it's another blessed Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are across the globe. And we privileged again to have Reverend and Mrs. Dazi with us once again. Now, before we proceed, I want to say this to, all our followers. Last time we had to cut short the interview because it was rained off. There was some bad weather somewhere across the globe, and so we had to cut it short. And so I requested that they come on again, and they willingly agreed to come. So we have another bite of the cherry with them, and I'm sure you are as pleased as I am. Now, if you are watching us for the first time, or this is the 18th time you're watching us, remember to go hit the follow button, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us. Just to ensure that you don't miss any of these wonderful episodes. And secondly, today I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to be following on the Facebook Live page and be putting your questions across as they come. So, sorry, I've not been following that in the past. I'm going to do that today. And so, put your questions across, put your comments across, and let's get very interactive. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. and Mrs. Dazi.
Thank you.
Right. And so,
it's raining again today.
Yeah. The rain has just decided to come on days we have, and the specific time we have you guys on. Maybe that is more of a blessing for us. So we'll happily take it that way. Okay. Now, so we're going to continue from where we stopped the last time. Prissy is not here today because she is busy elsewhere. But I'm going to start with the question she asked the last time. So we continue with it. Now, as being a minister of the gospel, usually you have so many people who rely on you for their well-being. Both spiritually, physically, financially. So Prissy's question that day was, how does that affect the marriage? Do you think, and the question was specifically to Mrs. Dazi, do you think that that is sometimes too much of a burden to carry? Because every now and then, you guys will have your plan, and people would also come with their troubles, and they will need to be sorted out. How have you been able to handle that all through?
Well, Manuel, I'll say it's not that easy. But as you know, he's currently not into full-time.
Right.
He's not into full-time. Yeah. So he has his work that he does alongside the ministry.
Yeah.
So do I. But in spite of that, sometimes, yes, you have members coming to you for assistance and all that.
Yeah.
And God has been good. In spite of everything, we one way or the other, find ways of assisting.
Right.
I think I think the issue here, as to in terms of support, be it physical, be it being present, social, and the rest. Yes, God has been faithful, because there's a reason why God will put you at a place.
Right.
And the reason is it's not just for you and your family, but it's for you and the people that God wants you to support.
Right.
So I don't think we have not had any challenge in terms of maybe supporting people as of now. Our prayer is that God will bless us to the extent that we'll be able to support people when they come our way. As of now, I want pencil, I want pen. It's normal. I think it's normal. So that is not a challenge at all. The other aspect of maybe being there socially, I have a very good Reverend Minister, and I have a good apostle who, to the glory of God, the church does so well. And where I cannot, where most of the time the work is done and I'm supposed to just chip in a little that I can bring on board. So that is what we have been trying to do so far.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's good to hear. Now, usually people would see a husband and a wife who have, been married for some time and have, been through the meal for some time. And they always want to be like them, but they don't, they are not able to wrap their minds around what the people have been through, what the people were some years back or some decades back, because usually the situation is more like if they are presented with the current situation, how you guys started, for example, 18 or 20 years ago, they would say a big no to it. But today they look at what you are and would wish they were you. Could you take us through that journey a little bit? How was it? How did you start? How was it looking? And how have you gone through till date?
Okay. You know very much about this, but I'll try as much as possible to explain. It's not that we were born with silver spoon. It wasn't that we were also, how do you call it, having challenges throughout. We started somewhere, and I'm sure more often than not, people see you today, and the assumption is that this is where you started from, or this is you. But sometimes what they don't know is that there had been you some days ago, and that you is not the person they are seeing today. Right. And sometimes and this comes in when you are trying to advise, because more often than not, when you see other people who were just like you, yeah, and they are trying to become the you of today, right, instead of trying to learn, how do you call it, about you of the yesterday that brought you to become the you of today. What they do is that they assume that either you don't like them, either you are some way, or you don't want to become who you don't want them to become who you are today. But that is where the challenge is, because you cannot build something on nothing. Okay, we are not that, how do you call it? We are not there yet. But what we have tried to do is to put things together and try as much as possible to build on the rock, where the building, the building is not easy to put up. But with time, when you are able to make the foundation come up very well, what happens is that you are able to put the building on it, and it doesn't matter where the wind that blows. Okay, you'll be able to withstand it. But that is where the challenge is, where people would like to build. They have a mushy area, and you are advising them that you please let the concrete be, how do you call it, go down, and that is that you don't know. We don't need your, how do you call, your advice. And more often than not, when they crash, then they come back. People will come back and say, "Okay, you said this." Okay, but it's a learning, how do you call it? It's a learning curve, and day in and day out, I personally understand it. That I'm sure if I find myself in their shoes as well, it's very difficult for me to also accept some of the advice I give today. I might think that the person giving the advice may not is trying to hold something back. Okay. But that is life. The good thing is that once they hit the road, and it becomes a problem, the ability to learn from it then makes them better, and they are able to take your advice when you give. So it's been quite some way. It has been a long journey. It has been challenges. Sometimes you ask whether God is there. Yeah. Sometimes you ask yourself whether there are sometimes you go to church and come back, and you ask yourself that is God there? Is he listening to you? Yeah. But the good thing is that sometimes his answer is very simple. It's not yet time.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah. Yeah, you have. Mrs. Darcy, do you have any input to this?
The little that I could say is that in spite of everything, God has been faithful, Vandal.
Right.
Yes. I mean, there had been turbulence on the way.
Right.
There have been challenges on the way, but God has been faithful. That's the best I can say.
Right. Right. So say I am a young lady and I wish to really have a very good, future. Because like I said last week, you are people we've looked up to when we were growing up. And putting myself back in those days, if I'm a young child, a young lady, and I see your today, and I feel like, I'm not getting the right kind of people like maybe you guys had, and all the people coming around don't seem to have any future. I mean, what would be your advice to them?
Okay, so let me understand your question. So they don't have future how? Is it the people that are coming their way in terms of marriage?
That's correct. Yes.
So I'm a young lady and or a young man, and I'm saying that like it said, I've heard it so bad. I heard it when I was very young that all the good people they are done with. They are finished.
Right.
Okay. Maybe it depends on what the person is looking for.
Okay.
Today, I look at one of the things I do a lot is when I visit people, I check I would like to look at their wedding pictures.
Okay.
And I'm sure you have yours will be, how do you call it,
you don't
nice.
See mine, yeah.
And sometimes I ask myself that why did you marry? Sometimes when I see the wedding pictures, I ask the lady, why do you marry this person? Because if you look at the picture, you realize that this is a very dangerous, dangerous, how do you call it, person. I have mine there. I would not like to show it out. If the graphic designers would like to add up a little, I would then like to show it. But it means that, like you said earlier on, it has not always been like this.
Yeah.
We have always come from, come from somewhere. And that requires people to be careful when they are looking and be careful when they are making choices. Because just this evening, as I was going through one of these clips on social media about a lady who how do you call it, rejected a young man because he thought the young man would not make it. Only after some few years, the young man had become good, rich, and he comes back. The lady was supposed to go and see a pastor to pray for her for her to get a husband. They walked into the room, and here was this young man who she had rejected some years ago, and she was very surprised. So it depends on what you are looking out for. Okay, if you are looking out for the ready-made type, thank God people get the ready-made and it works perfectly for them. But we cannot say that it works the same for everybody. For some of us, you have to pick us the way we wear that dangerous look, and you manage it for some time, and then maybe you will get to this where we are looking now. Later on, better.
Right. And like you mentioned, so in my whole life, there is one picture I call my favorite picture. And anytime we're celebrating our anniversary or anything, that is the picture I like to post. It is on one of my phones as my status picture. And the reason being that when I look at that picture, it was taken maybe close to how many years ago? Yeah. When I look at it, I'm just amazed at what we saw in each other and what we were actually thinking at the time. I mean, because you go like, what? And so that sort of is my favorite picture, because when I look at it, I always see some genuineness, innocency, and I'm so attached to it. Anyway, so thank you for this. Now, coming to Mrs. Dazi. So usually people would go like, okay, like Mr. Dazi rightly mentioned, you want someone who is made up already. And when ladies are in their prime, you always have people reaching out to you, I mean, making proposals here and there. How are you able to filter out who is real, who is correct? And I mean, how, because I always think that ladies go through a very challenging time, I mean, around their prime, where they have to make a decision. How do you do it? I mean, in your case, how did you do it? How did you have that inner witness, if I should put it that, no, this should be the one?
But no, honestly, it just happened. Oh. It just happened. Yes, I had male friends, okay. You know, I had male friends and that, but I don't know. It just happened.
Maybe I was if she had not come around, nobody would have. Nobody would have come. No, not to her, rather to me. Maybe nobody might have picked. Might have picked me. So God said, "No, just you pick him the way he is, and I will work on him for you." So maybe that is the how do you call it? Well,
no, I honestly I don't have a specific answer to give pertaining to that, but
okay,
it's just him, and I know it's him. That's all.
Whoa.
Wow. But if you, in fact, I should be asking you this question. I have but the last 2 weeks I was at church and I was talking to the youth and I was saying that I know somebody. I was advising them and I said I know somebody, but I'm going to tell you a story about the person. But please, that is an exception. It's not a rule. So be careful because I know. At least I know you. How do you call it? You don't preach it for a very long time from school. Okay. Yeah. So to move from where you were from primary school to university and get married. So I was telling them that look, this one is unique. It will not always work that way. Okay, but in case you get that opportunity and you get that, how it happens to you that way, thank God. Okay, but that is the case. Maybe I know the best way for us to be able to answer this question is for God to give us the opportunity to become women for just 2 days, or young girls for just 2 days, and I'm sure we'll be able to sample. Because I know it's very difficult to be a man and face a lot of rejection, but I would like to be at the other side for a few days and see how you can. When it's coming, how would you? I wonder how. Sometimes we may have our own. When you sit back, you may have your own. How do you call it? You may think about a lady who might have selected somebody in a particular way, but I'm sure the average lady will go through a lot of how do you call it brainstorming and. Before coming up with somebody that she may be interested in, and she may not get it right. Yeah. Okay, when she gets it right, society will praise her. Yeah. But when she gets it wrong, that is when it becomes, and we how do you call it? We all tell stories and tales about it. So it's not a wish for a very long time, but I wish that if I can have just 2 days, I'll go back. Go back as a very young lady and then maybe see exactly how it feels like to, how do you call it, to winnow all those, how do you call it, proposals that are coming and make the right choice. Yeah. I often say that, look, even sometimes I'm sure at the day or on the day of the wedding, when they turn around and they ask, turn around and the crowd, this is the how do you call it? She said it's a man. This is the latest bride. I'm sure there may be people in the crowd that they may say, "Look, did I make the wrong?" I'm sure this person. I don't know if I stand for correction. That's what I'm saying. But I'm sure they might look. Look, is it possible that this person sitting there would have been the right choice? Instead of the one beside me. I don't know whether that's what I'm saying. I wish that one day I would just have an opportunity to just be in their shoes for some few hours and see how it was like.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback on that and put Mrs. Darcy on the spot again. Because, you see, I mean, we always joke about it. Sometimes we have fun with it. My wife tells me that, okay, so when we were going up, before we entered into university, I got very sick. Very, very sick, and became maybe a walking dead person. Really skinny and all. And it was at that point when I just got well, we had to go to the university. And we were already going out. And so it was at that point that my wife now had to, I mean, my beloved then had to introduce me to people. This is my, and some people, as expected, went like, oh, but yeah, like, what do you see about this person? So, Mrs. Darcy, today, if a young person in church comes to you and says that, I have these three people. This is it. I'm confused. I don't know which one to go in for. What would really be the filter that you would help them out with? Because I believe that this is something that people are really going through. What would be the filter? What kind of litmus test would you want them to take them through to really see who is the right person?
Mr. Vanel, it's not our will.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I can tell this person is to pray to God for direction. I mean, for God to give her that sign as to choose between these three.
Right.
Because I remember when we were going out, yes, just like you said, I mean, you're giving your condition, your scenario.
Yeah.
The same applies to him. You know,
what applies to me?
Yeah, you have those green trousers that you used to. The same applies to him. I'm sure if those that see today and they see and they feel this, like they see and they think everything is okay, it's nice, it's beautiful. If they are seeing it then, you understand, they wouldn't be saying what they are saying now.
I was quite okay. Maybe let me use the disclaimer. I was quite okay.
Okay, so all you have to do is just to pray to God for direction. Yeah, that's like, because if you go in, you use your mind or what's your expectations and all that in doing it, you might end up making a mistake. I believe if you invite God into it, I mean, whatever the outcome will be, I believe it will go a long way for you.
Okay, that's good. So, young lady out there and young man as well, invite God, make God the bedrock. Like Mr. Darcy rightly said, if you try to build on a rock, it is more difficult to do, but that will end up, going well for you. Don't take the easy route out of it. Don't just look for, okay, what's the easy part out of it, and then take it. Invite God into it. Let God be that foundation, and then, it surely will be well with you. Thank you so much, Mrs. That is a really critical question, especially for ladies around that age when, people are coming around. Okay, now, so let me have your take on this. Do you think that people go in with wrong expectations when it comes to marriage? And do you think that has or is sort of leading to the breakdown of the institution? What is your take on it? Do you think that, I mean, it has always been, initially, or before now, when people were going into marriage, sometimes it was more like, okay, my parents have said, okay, you have to marry this person, and you go ahead and marry. But now that we have that free will to choose and all, do you think that people are getting it wrong because the expectations are wrong from the onset, from the get-go?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, there are a lot of people who are getting it wrong because, and let me say this.
Yeah.
I have this personal philosophy or theory that I say that, look, Bible says that God has given to us everything that pertains to life and godliness.
Right.
So we have 99% of the problem solved for us. Right. It's the 1% that we are supposed to, how do you call it, solve. But the 1% looks like 99% for us, one for God. Okay. Yeah. So expectation. Yeah, there are some times when the environment may dictate who you go in for.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, if you all want to be human, you in a situation where you have, let's say, let me use 3 young ladies in your life.
Okay.
They're almost the same. Mm-hmm. They almost come from the same background. In terms of educational qualification, they are the same. It makes the how do you call it, taking decision quite difficult.
Yeah.
Because now almost everything that you want, you can see in almost all of them. Yeah. But there is always a factor that sometimes you don't look. And the challenging aspect is that sometimes the good ones, or the one we are supposed to how do you call it, a pick, may not we may not be looking at that direction or that particular trait, because you may have one who is overly nice and all those things, and sometimes society expects, and not only you, but you admire the person in addition, but sometimes the environment around you dictates that, look, even she is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it will take a very matured person to look the other side and say that, look, yes, these are 3 people who have the same qualities, but I'm going in for this one because of A, B, C, D. Yeah. Expectations in terms of maybe financial status and the rest, yes. If it's always there. It's always there. Who would not like to sit in front of a car? Who would not like to be picked from the house? And how do you call it? Come to church. When you close from church, you can get some drinks. Yeah. You have bought drinks. When after that, you sit in a nice vehicle, and then you are dropped home. And in fact, your family will call, your parents will start calling the young man in-law. Right. before you even decide. Okay. Yeah. So yes, sometimes sometimes I might say that even when we want to make right decisions, at times society forces us to, how do you call it, make a particular decision.
Right.
But what society fails to appreciate is that they are not going into that relationship.
Right.
It's the individual who, and it's only few people who can put their feet on the ground and say that, look,
yeah,
this young man is this young man is this young man is that. However, I'm going this direction because I feel that looking at what I want to be in future, I will be able to accomplish my goals with this man. And especially when the odds are against the person, it becomes a problem. So yes, expectations, I think it's there, and I'm sure most people today are having a lot of challenges. I don't know if I'm going to marry today, how it will be like, because social media is bombarding you with a lot of expectations. On people are telling you things here and there. You are listening to the television, and they are giving you criteria you look for. You right. 10 years, this person is saying, and so it becomes, I don't know how people are. It's a jungle now. Yeah. How to maneuver to the garden will not come easy. And I don't envy people who are going to get married. Like Belinda said, we need God more than before.
Right. Right. Awesome. So Courage is saying that environment, financial status, etc., big influence. It's a big influence, right, to what you said. And Darlington said that it will be difficult to hear from God about the choices we make. He can only step by guiding with his word. So I guess that what Darlington is saying is that we can only receive guidance from God through his word. Then, okay, Courage is saying that what society fails to see is they aren't going into the relationship. Great word. So Courage is actually saying that what you mentioned is really great. And so based on what you said, do you think that we should give the current generation a lot more wiggle room to make mistakes? Because like you said, in this day and age, there's social media all around giving you pressure, making you believe things that are not. So it means that people in this era are more prone to making mistakes. Do you think that it is only fair to expect that, okay, yeah, make the mistakes and then get them corrected later? What do you think? What's your take on that?
There are a lot of things you can make mistakes with, or you can when it comes to, you can make a mistake. You can decide to buy a wrong car.
Okay.
So you can decide to decide to put up a wrong building. I remember when I was the other day there was an issue, and I said, Wandel spoke about this thing. It's always you can make a mistake when you talk about a building, but a mistake with a partner is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. And much as society should allow people the space to make a mistake, it can mess you up.
Wow. Yeah.
It can mess you up big time. And I'm sure some people don't recover completely. I have heard stories of people who lands in, how do you call it, the psychiatric hospital when it comes to some of these things. So yes, we should rather, I think what we should rather do more is to, one, encourage people to think more, think on that when it comes to do a lot of critical thinking, in addition to the prayer.
Right.
Wandel, people might say that, look, God will not choose for you, but sometimes God will not tell you who to choose. But sometimes, okay, the mistake we do is that we don't step back. Okay, when it's like it's morning, we do afternoon will come, then there will be evening. So we are in that flow. Okay, but sometimes, you know, you in the book of Psalms, okay, you hear Selah, okay, pause, okay. Maybe today I have the benefit of time, so that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm sure maybe if I find myself in their situation, I may not be saying this, but sometimes maybe there is a need to pause. Okay, and then listen, and not going in with the choice, like the saying there's a Lacan saying that, look, you don't take off the feathers of, how do you call it, a fowl, a bird, and then you ask the question, what is this? If we take off the feathers and then take it to God and say, God, what is this? We are deceiving ourselves.
Right.
Okay, so yes, we can give people the chance to make a lot of mistakes, but the mistakes maybe should be done. People should get to know people. Rather, what I would advise is that, look, before you enter into any relationship with anybody, people should know people in terms of, you know, if you are my friend and you can be vulnerable before me, you can make mistakes before me. I think that it gives me a better option when I'm making a decision as to who you are. Okay, so people should rather between the get to know people a lot more before they go into. I get surprised when I hear people saying that, look, I don't know. Yes, we all have behaviors that we keep in the box. Once a while, you let out
You
let
really
out more. And then I think that sometimes we should get to know a lot of people a lot more. And I'm sure once we do that, sometimes what we do is that the pressures of today, okay, all my friends in my class has gotten married. We are left only two. We are the last about one person is also getting married next week. So sometimes if anybody comes your way,
yeah,
you are afraid. Sometimes you know that look, this person may not be the correct person, but like you said, the pressures of this world makes you choose, and it's a very dangerous one. But all said and done, once you go in, even coming out, the process of even coming out of marriage, it's not easy.
yeah.
So we need to. We all have to look at the youth need to be mindful before they, how do you call it, make a decision. What
Wow. Mr. Darcy, anything on that?
Well, like he said, we should allow God to guide us in making our choices, because yes, you can make mistakes, but such mistakes are costly mistakes.
Yeah.
You're talking about a life partner, somebody you're going to share the rest of your life with.
Yeah.
So you need to allow God to guide you in making your choices before you end up making these mistakes.
Right. Wow. So in effect,
let me just add this one before we go.
Okay.
So you are let me give you a clear cut one.
Yeah.
You are in the church, or you are a Christian, and you sing in the choir, or you are an usher. You go to church. You go to church on maybe Tuesdays. You go to church Sundays. If you are a choir person, you go to church on Saturday.
Right.
Okay, and then how do you call it? You are going to marry somebody. Okay, and this person is not comfortable with all these things that you are doing.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is what you have been doing for. This is what brings you joy. Okay. Sometimes we tend to close our eyes to some of these things and say, look, when I marry him, he or she will change. But you spend all your time, in the church. You spend all your time in the church all the time. So, and the person it's not that doesn't like the church, but the person is not used to this lifestyle. Okay. So when we say listen to God, or when we talk about how do you call it, prayer, you need to also be very careful, because I might accept you because it's fresh.
Yeah.
It's fresh for I just saw you, and I don't know what to do with myself. And whatever you say, I say yes. By the time, with time, all those things would, how do you call it, go off, and then that is when the real, how do you call it, midcast. That's when you are going for rehearsals. And I said, Madam, why is it is it rehearsal every day, Madam? Is this is this that? And it becomes a very big issue. But when the person, and that's what comes in here, is knowing the person very well. But if the person knows you so well, is comfortable. Maybe when you are maybe in the choir rehearsing, he or she is maybe also cleaning the pews in the church. So it flows naturally. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that means that one to also pick and to work for you. It's not possible you will clean the church just because of you. And when you marry, Madam, is over.
Wow, that's a good one. And Amadede Jamo says that relationships are not trial and error. You can demolish a house and reconstruct it, but when it's human, you might indirectly murder the person with your mistake.
Yes.
I mean, that's a profound one. And that ties into what you mentioned. You can buy a wrong car, and that's a mistake. But if you pick the wrong spouse, it might end up destroying your life. I mean, or both lives. And so I guess the answer I'm getting to my question is that because there are more negative influences around, doesn't give us the leeway as the youth of today to say that, okay, then we can afford to make more mistakes and it's acceptable. So we should be very, very, very careful. Awesome. Thank you so much. So what would be your final words to us with respect to marriage? I mean, so or relationships or building a life together? Because I always sit down and examine people who have treaded on a particular course for some time, and I look at what they've been able to, do with their lives over time. And when I consider it, it's always fascinating. What would you say to people who look up to you out there? How should they take it? How fast should they go? How slowly should they go? What would be your final advice to them?
I think that since you are dealing with how do you call a cross section of people coming from different environments, I think that first believe in your God.
Okay.
Because when issue gets worse and things are bad, you should be able to run to something. Okay. I think that there's a songwriter that would say that when my heart is overwhelmed, he leads me to the rock that is higher than I. So when how do you call it? Issues become so difficult. There has to be a situation where you can easily walk to your God and then say, "Lord God, look, this is where I have come to. This is where the place I've got into, and whatever I am involved in, I can't solve it. I need your help." And that is where that small still voice will come in to advise you. The second has to do with the fact that we must know the people that we are going to a relationship with. We have to know them and know them very, very well. Yes, people can hide, but there are things that will not hide. I always say that, look, if you want to know the person, you would know. But just that sometimes you are blinded by, how do you call it?
Love.
And then yes, and then it becomes a big problem for us. I think the last thing I would say is that as I said, know each other. The last thing I will say is the two of you must work at it. Okay. Look, even if the Archbishop of Canterbury, how do you call it, counsels you, okay, it doesn't mean that your marriage will how do you call it, will survive. Right. Okay. What you have to do is that you have to work at it, and by the grace of God, you realize that because I know people who, if I ask you to sit here, who are better than us in terms of financially, socially, in terms of status and everything, and but they may be having challenges in their marriage. I don't mean that. Doesn't mean that we don't have. Once in a while we do. Okay, but it's just the grace of God and knowing ourselves, and then maybe working at it every day. So I share something with you. I learned on the job that we must learn to how do you call it, recognize that we are different. Right. We come from a different family background. We come from a different status in terms of class. Then if we are different, then we must also respect that there's a possibility that our partners will also be different. If we do that, then we can go to the table and reconcile our differences. Right. And then we start the process all over again. So every day you realize that there are new things that you may be, how do you call it, learning from each other. It doesn't come easy. Sometimes you frown and all those things, but by the time you come back from work, God has prevailed on you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
what will be your final take?
Well, he said it all, but what I can add on to what he had said is that it's not by our might, it's not by our power, it's by God's Spirit. Therefore, all this on the every step along the way, we should call him.
Okay.
No matter the situation, we should call on him. Is it the finances? Call on him. Whatever you find yourself in, isn't the raising of the children, whatever situation that you find yourself in, just call on him.
Right.
That's all I can say.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. And I mean, if you are thinking what I'm thinking, then you would want to go over this video again, because I've been trying to list down all the things they are saying in my mind, but I realized that I definitely have to go back to really get all that they said and grasp all that they said. So we want to thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Dadzie, for honoring our invitation the second time. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all that you've shared with us, and we thank you, and we believe that our marriages and our relationships are going to be better because we listened to you today. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, I see we've gone over time. It was because I just couldn't help it. I wanted to listen more. And so we'll come your way again next week with another episode of Dear Man. Remember, go out there, follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us. If you think this is share-worthy, share it. Someone out there may be blessed by this. And as always, remember that no two relationships are the same. Thank you for staying with us, and cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanel.